This is a help video for 1.3 explicit formulas for arithmetic sequences. Let's jump in. First, remember that when we did these before, last time, we were looking for what is it changing by every time, the common difference, and then we wrote the recursive formula. And the recursive formula was just what came before and then your common difference. We'll review that. We're going to do a different formula today, which lets you find any step you want. So for example, this question says, what if you wanted to find step 31, term 31? Well, look, you could just keep writing this out. What's this one doing? This is subtracting 8 every time. So the common difference is -8. So what could you do? Well, let's see. You could start cranking through this, and you could get a calculator, and you could keep going. Okay, so you could do this for a really long time until you eventually got to step 31. I think that'll work. Let's not do that. Let's find a better way to do this. So first of all, just to review, what was the recursive formula for this? A sub n is equal to a sub n minus 1. Now, the recursive formula always starts that way, And then you put your common difference, okay? So the recursive formula, if you remember from last time, says, if you want term 31, just tell me term 30, and I'll subtract 8, right? So I'm the teacher, and I say, hey, everybody, give me term 31, and you say, oh, hey, smarty pants, tell me term 30, and I'll tell you term 31. And of course, you're right. That would work. The problem is, what if I say, yeah, but I'm not going to tell you term 30? Now we need something called the explicit formula. The explicit formula means you can get straight there, like you get right to the point. Think about explicit music or explicit language. That means that you're kind of being like, you're not hiding anything. You're like getting right out there. You're saying the swear words or whatever. So here, the explicit formula means you're going to get right to the point. You're going to get exactly to the place that we want. So here, this explicit formula is going to look like, I'm looking at my notes up there just to make sure I do it right. So a sub n is equal to, now let's just think for a minute. If I wanted to get to the 31st term, what I would do, go back and think about what I did on my calculator. What I did on my calculator was I subtracted 8 a whole bunch of times. That's what I did. I subtracted 8 a bunch of times. Think about the word I'm saying, a bunch of times. So that means that there's some kind of multiplication going on here. How many times am I subtracting 8? Well, I'm subtracting 8 31 times, but not quite. I'm actually subtracting 30 times. Let's kind of take an example over here. I'm going to use my paper here. What if I had, let's just write our pattern here. So we had 15, 7, -1, and -9. So just for interest's sake, what if I wanted to find the 4th term? Now, you say, but Albertson, we know the 4th term. It's right there. Yeah, I know. Let's do one that we know. So to find the 4th term, we would, if I start at 15, right? I'm going to start at 15. To find the 4th term, I'm going to subtract 8, and subtract 8. How many times did I subtract 8? 3 times, right? Not 4, 3. So that means I'm going to subtract 8 3 times, subtract 8 3 times, and then you have to put where you're starting. And I'm starting on number 15. So let's see if that actually works. So I'm starting with 15. Let's get that where you can see it. Starting with 15, and I'm subtracting 8 3 times. And I get -9, just what we expected it to be. Right? Or let's do it differently. 15, subtract 8. Here's I subtracted once, subtracted twice, subtracted 3 times. Right? Okay. So that's what this is saying. Now, we tend to write this a little differently. We tend to write it like this. N minus 1 plus your common difference. Oh, sorry, I did this wrong. Plus a sub 1. And this one really should be our common difference. Here, let's just do this over. I got kind of confused whether I was doing this specific example or I'm doing the notes. So here's the general form. If I want to find any term, I'm going to take the common difference. I'm going to multiply it by 1 less than the term number I'm looking for. So up here, when I was looking for term 4, I multiplied by 3. If I want term 30, I'm going to multiply by 29. It's always 1 less. And that's because you don't subtract on the one you're starting with. It's the one you're starting with that's kind of different. So you're always going to multiply by 1 less than the term you're looking for. And then you have to add the first term. Now, what changes every time? The one that changes on each problem are these two. On each problem, you got to know the common difference and the first term. And if you know those two things, you got it. So you might want to pause on that screen and write that formula down right here. Or you can always Google it. I mean, if you Google explicit formulas for arithmetic sequences, you can get that formula. Let's come back here and take a look at our example. So here, the explicit formula, you're subtracting 8. Great. You're subtracting 8 how many times? Well, 1 less than whatever term you want to find, and then you have to add your first term. Oh, you know what? Yeah, that's right. That's right. I did that right. Woo. Sometimes I have a moment where I doubt myself. So here's the first term. That's a sub 1, right? And this one here is your common difference, right? Cool. This is going to take some practice. So if you're feeling stressed, you're feeling weirded out by this, just chill. Let's do a few more. Oh, and by the way, it says find term 31. So let's do that. A sub 31 is equal to negative 8 times 31 minus 1 plus 15. And I'm going to use a calculator for that, right? So here we go. Negative 8 times 31 minus 1 plus 15. And we find out that term 31 is negative 225. Okay, so we can find any term we want using this nifty formula. Cool. Let's do a little more practice. Let's go to number 2. First of all, we need the common difference. Well, I think this one is subtract 3. Pretty sure. And what's our first term? First term is negative 16. Okay, well, let's get the recursive formula. So the recursive formula, a sub n is equal to a sub n minus 1. That part's always the same. And then you say that you're subtracting 3 every time, right? Now, if you want the explicit formula, and I'll try to go in green, the parts that always stay the same. So a sub n is equal to, we need that common difference again, negative 3. That's the common difference right here. A sub n is equal to negative 3 times n minus 1. That part always is there. And then plus your first term. Or you could have put minus 16. I just put plus a negative 16. I don't mean to confuse you, but this part just goes right down there. Cool? All right. Now we need to find term 33. So let's use the explicit formula for that. So a sub 33 is equal to negative 3 times, oh, not n. See, the n's got to be 33. Getting messed up here. So 33 minus 1, and then minus 16. And let's use our calculator for that. So we have negative 3 times 33 minus 1 minus 16. And we get negative 112. All right. Woo. Let's do a few more. What's this one doing? Well, pretty sure this one is adding 10. And the first term is 20. Cool. Right? So if we want the recursive formula, pretty easy. We just say that we want the previous term and add 10. Right? This is in subscripts down here. I didn't write it very, very low, but that's in subscript. So a sub n minus 1 plus 10. And then the explicit formula is a sub n is equal to the common difference, which is 10, times n minus 1 plus your first term. All right, those are the pieces that you need. You need the common difference and the first term. Now, if we want to find term 24, let's find term 24. Now, why 24? Because it asked us for 24. So term 24 is equal to 10 times 24 minus 1 plus 20. All right. Well, let's see what we have. 10 times 24 minus 1 plus 20. And the answer is 250. Is that a reasonable answer? Well, let's look. This was 20, 30, 40, 50. You know, you could say 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, right? It's going to be a multiple of 10. This is a multiple of 10. And it's going to be bigger than 50. This is bigger than 50. It's going to be quite a bit bigger than 50. I think that looks like a very reasonable answer. Okay, let me just do one last little thing here to help you. So when you're doing the formulas, let me write out the formulas again. So let's try to write it really nice for you. And you might want to write this down. So the recursive formula, what do you need? You need a sub n is equal to a sub n minus 1, and that usually is in parentheses on the computer. And then you need plus d, where d is your common difference. Okay? And the green part always stays the same. The green part always stays the same. Now, the explicit formula, again, the green part will stay the same for each problem. A sub n is equal to your common difference, but now you're multiplying. And this is not subscript. Some students get really confused and keep trying to put this part in subscript. This is not subscript. This is just multiplied by the common difference, because this says that you're adding the same thing this many times. So you're multiplying it. You're this many times. Times is multiply. So you're doing it this many times. So you just multiply those out. So this is d times n minus 1. And then you need one more thing. You need plus your first term. So this is where d is the common difference. Okay? So when you're doing these, when you go to type them in for the explicit formula, the green part stays the same. All you need to do is change the d for what it's adding by or subtracting by, and change the a for the first term in the sequence, the first one. And that's it. So please, look, if it's hard, email me. Let's keep trying to talk to each other, and we'll get there. Thank you very much.